So I think it's time to pick a final England squad to tour Argentina and the USA, the summer tour, which could be very important for England. Under the radar, because of course it's the Lions tour to Australia at the same time, but this is the basis of a team that could go on and start winning Six Nations again. I really do believe in the players that could be involved. I'm going to pick my squad, but of course we don't know what Borthwick's going to pick. It's probably going to be in the next couple of weeks before the completion of the Premiership. But we've had the completion of the Champions Cup, the Challenge Cup, and pretty much all of the season in the Premiership anyway. So I think we've seen most of the evidence we're going to get. And what's great about this tour is it's into the Puma's den in Argentina. It's going to be very partisan. Argentina are a brilliant team. They'll have warmed up fantastically well against a historic game against the Lions in Dublin. So it's going to be a real hardcore game. And if England aren't at the top of their game, they're going to lose, which is what you want. Of course, we've already had an England training squad last week without those Northampton and Bath players. And of course, Lions players are out of it completely. So let's put it all together and also maybe talk about some players that weren't selected in the first squad that could have been. And I'm going to pick 36 players because that's what went to New Zealand last year, but it could be less. Let's get straight into it. At hooker, we've already got Dan, George and O'Gray in the training squad. I think O'Gray does drop out. I think Langdon comes in from Northampton. He's been consistently fantastic for Northampton. He is a smaller type hooker, more of a small flanker if you like. And Tom Dunn from Bath has had fantastic performances. And I've been talking about how much he deserves to go on tour. And maybe he does. But in the end, I came down on the side of the younger player who could play for England a bit longer. But if you think Tom Dunn goes, let me know. But then you'd have Dunn and George and only really Dan as the younger hooker. So I think Langdon is in. Kepu Tupelutu is another guy in the future who we've really got to see in that England squad. But for now, Dan, George and Langdon. Now, loosehead prop is really easy. They only selected Baxter and Rod to start with. And then Manio Jürgen of Northampton is the obvious pick to go straight in. He's been fantastic. He scrummaged really well in the Champions Cup final throughout the season. And then you have Baxter, 23 years old, Rod, 24, Jürgen, 24. What a brilliant group of players to take through. We know Baxter has struggled a bit with Harlequins, but I think out of that environment, he should thrive. So excited about that. And then Tighthead, Trevor Davison of Northampton is a player on performance, probably should come into the squad. But I'm keeping Hayes in there because at 26, he's more of a development player, so that's a bit tough on Davison. If you say he should be in there instead of Hayes, that's fine. But in the end, I'm coming down on the side of youth here on this tour. Hayes, Fasgabon and Apoko Fajor. Again, a group that can stay together, especially those two 20-year-olds, Fasgabon and Apoko Fajor, and the likes of Billy Seller from Bath may be joining them at some point in the future. So very excited about the props here. This is a group that could go forward for many, many years. It's going to be a great, tough test, and that's exactly what they're going to need. Second rows, we've had Batley, Clark and Ezekwe in at the moment, and I think that changes quite a lot as Alex Coles definitely comes in from Northampton. He's been amazing, got so much better this year. An amazing performance at 6 in the Champions Cup final. Much more physical than he used to be, which is his work on, I think. At 25 years old, just coming into his prime. And then Tom Lockett as well of Northampton definitely comes into it. A massive year for this guy. Came in England A's, now for Northampton. He's only 22, although he looks like he's 32, as in his maturity, the way he plays. But goodness me, he's got a high ceiling if he's playing at this level now already. And also what maybe slipped under the radar was that George Martin was rehabbing with the squad last week, which indicates he will be back for the tour. So I think Arthur Clark goes as the development guy, and then your three main guys as Alex Coles, Tom Lockett and George Martin is a much stronger second row lineup than I think Batley, Clark and Ezekwe at the moment. So a bit harsh there, but I think Batley and Ezekwe, they drop out. Then into the back row at the moment, we've got Capsic, Curry, Dombrandt, Elione, Kenningham and Tom Willis. And I think that changes a lot. Again, we've got to remember that Cunningham South was rehabbing with the group last week, and he definitely comes in. And then the Bath guys pretty much come in on lot. Miles Reid is probably unlucky to miss out, as people pointed out. He's had a brilliant season, but compared to the others, I think it is that Ted Hill, Sam Underhill, Pepper and Alfie Barbary all come in. Fantastic players, physical, strong. Barbary, I think it's a big tour for him. He's fit, he's ready. Can he impact the international scene with that ball carrying? That is his thing. If he gets stopped on the gain line and he's not as quick as some of the others, maybe you start thinking, oh, is he quite good enough for internationals? I think he is. Big tour for him. Let's hope he gets some minutes. Ben Curry's going to be a big leader as an out-and-out 7. Cunningham South could move around a bit. And Ted Hill, at 26, You know I'm a massive fan. I think this is a huge tour for him. I do hope he gets some starts in those test matches. Underhill, as destructive as ever. Pepper is coming on leaps and bounds, and Tom Willis is our go-to number 8. No, the number 8 of the season in the Premiership. Incredibly strong back row lineup, I think, for this tour, which you're going to need to be to go to Argentina. Scrum half is a tricky area. We've had Quirk, Van Poortvliet and Randall in at the moment, and I would change that. I think Ben Spencer comes in, even though he's older and maybe hasn't got too many years left, he is the best 9 available with Alex Mitchell with the Lions. I think that Challenge Cup final reiterated it once again. His kicking is world class. He's still quick enough. He has to start, not come on as a sub, I think, and be the main man with Will Porter of Harlequins, who wasn't in the initial squad, and Van Poortvliet as the 2 slightly younger guys. That's a stronger scrum half lineup than it is at the moment. I think Quirk still needs a bit more time, get some more starts, and Randall, I think maybe it's not going to quite happen for him at international level. Yes, for Bristol, not sure internationally. We are weak at fly half if George Ford is not available for some reason. If he is available and plays all the test matches, fantastic. What a general to have. Young Charlie Atkinson was in the training squad, but we definitely haven't seen enough from him to justify that he's there. But who else would come in? I think you take a punt on Kieran Donoghue of Bath, who can play 10 and 15. Unbelievable pace. Absolutely something you want to have a look at. And George Furbank, if he can get back fit, he got concussed again at the weekend, but if he gets back fit, he can be a second or third choice 10 as well. So I think you take those 3 guys as 10, but Donoghue and Ford in that slot, but it is definitely a little bit of a light area. Now in last week's training squad, we've got Seb Atkinson, Beard, Matty White, Northmore and Slade. And then you've got Dingwall, Butt, Jomu, and not selected before were Joe Woodward, Ben Waghorn. So there's a lot of options. Yes, you probably do need some experience in there, and maybe that's why Slade is in there at the moment. But I think that can be replaced by Fraser Dingwall, who's had a really good season. In the Champions Cup, we did see that physically he's not quite that dominant player, but again, you need someone who can hold the group together. So I think he definitely goes, and then it's who goes with him. That speed 13, I think Oscar Beard is the obvious fit for that one, but again, pretty big tour for him. Then who else do you take? Well, Butt is only 25. How top level could he be? I'm not quite sure. His teammate Ajomo, though, I think could be world class. He's got everything for me. That creativity, that speed, that power, the passing game. He has to go, so that's the 3rd slot. And then which 2 go? Tricky, but I'm going for 2 more young power guys to see who's going to be the next big thing. Massey White and Ben Waghorn I see as having the highest ceiling. So those 5 go, but happy taking an argument for someone else. Then that leaves me 6 slots left for the back 3, so just right. And it is a bit of a change as well, I think, in some of these players. I think Stewart drops out. Again, I just don't see the future of him at 15 up against the best teams in the world. Carpenter, I think, has done enough to stay just about. You definitely take a young winger in there. Elliott, very exciting player. How good is he going to be? I don't know. Murley's an excellent finisher. I think you take one of these guys as a bit of a punt to see what they can do, and I'm going to go for Paul Brown-Bampo at the moment. Some of you guys said in the comments he's not an all-round player yet, and he's not, but athletically, I think he's got the biggest ceiling there. Gabriel Ibitoy could be picked, but back from injury, doesn't seem to be quite there. But let's see what Brown-Bampo can do. Yes, occasionally he can be a bit out of control, maybe in his kick chases, etc. But for pure athletic ability and potential and ceiling, let's see what he can do. Fawabusu's back as well. Just imagine those 2 together. Then you've got a big guy in there, Tom Roebuck. I think he stays. You could replace him with Joe Thokanasiga maybe. I don't think that Ollie Slightholme's back to full fitness for Northampton. We saw that in the Champions Cup, so he can stay out for now and have a good pre-season. The guy coming in as well has to be Adam Radwan. How was he not picked in the first squad? It doesn't look like he's going to be picked, but goodness me, he would go for me. I mean, look at that lineup there. Brown-Bampo, Fawabusu, Radwan, Roebuck as those wingers with amazing physical potential, threat, danger. I think you need that in your team. And then a brilliant all-round ability of Carpenter and Furbank at the back. I really like it. I think this squad is super strong. I think it absolutely could go to Argentina and win, but even if it doesn't, I think this is the basis of a very good England squad going forward. You chuck in the Lions players coming back in, and I think you might be cooking with gas. Let me know if I'm getting too excited. It can always happen. If you like these sorts of videos, do subscribe if you haven't already. It would really help, and I'll catch you next time.